Hey guys, it's Natural Juan here, showing off a game that I've been talking about for quite some time now. It's going to be called Hexed the Void Sea. It's essentially a game that's to be played on either Excel or Spreadsheet. It's a fairly simple game. It doesn't have any graphics. It's not really anything I mean, seriously speaking, it's not really anything to be. How shall we put it? It's not something I made. It's something I made seriously, true enough, at least, story wise, but it's not supposed to be, you know, a major. It is a major project, but not something that you'd expect. Anyway, I'm doing this as a kind of proof of concept, so you know that there is actually something in the works that I'm preparing for people who might be interested in this. But it was never something that you know I want to take seriously and want to make merch out of it. And I also didn't want to end up looking like the Paul brothers. I mean, I do want to give you guys something. It's just not what you'd expect. I mean, it's not Trench Crusade, it's not Warhammer, it's not even Core. It's just something silly I made up. The story, I've been trying to make it as solid as possible, but in terms of the actual game, I just want something that people can enjoy and maybe laugh at a little bit as the game goes on. But it was never, a major project in my life. It's not anything that I leveraged everything I have into. It's just something that when I have time, I'll make it, I'll develop it for you guys so that you'd at least have something to have fun with or laugh at. So here we are. This is, like I said, Hex the Void Sea, and here you have this is basically your battle map. It's 10 by 10, but I intend to make it even bigger. Since this is just a demo, guys, okay? So don't take it too seriously. It's just, you know, this is actually supposed to be a submarine, but it's like as you can see, it's just a bunch of text there. I want you guys to imagine that you're like looking at this from a satellite feed, and this is what the information translates to instead of just a bunch of points of light that you can see on the open ocean. All you see is a bunch of text that represents whatever is on the water. And but like I said, I still want it to be something that you guys will enjoy. And so this is just 10 by 10. So basically you have 100 squares or zones, which is supposed to be 1 kilometer in size. So basically 100 kilometers. But I think later on, should I get enough support for this, or I have more time, I'm gonna make it 100 squares, zones, or kilometers, so that you guys can really see the epic scale of it all. This is just a small part of it, and it's more or less meant to represent a small patch of the ocean where the good guys and the bad guys have finally met each other. And yeah, for the factions, I think you already know. I've already told you about them a little bit in my previous videos. So we've got, for the good guys, for the Aeons, who are, like I said, they're the heroes, but they're not aware of that. As in, on paper, they're still supposed to be enemies. For example, Boa, they're supposedly a terrorist organization similar to Cobra from G.I. Joe, but appearance wise, that's where the resemblance stops. They're actually more heroic than that, and they openly fight the cults of the Void gods themselves. They just do it in a way that's underhanded, and a lot of the Void cults think this is unfair, even though they're actually the ones that are unfair. Well, anyway, that's it. That's the storyline. So at least you get a better idea. The story is, compared to the actual gameplay, the story goes uh, well beyond. As in, it discusses stuff like how can you be sure that a certain organization or a certain group is on your side, even though they might actually be actively working against you. It's or working against your best interest. For example, a tyrannical government might say that they're working to protect you and your rights, but the truth is that they're the ones that are taking advantage of your rights and are another threat out there, all things considered. But anyway, so these are your good factions. There's Goshawk, which is a lot like G.I. Joe. If Boa is your Cobra, then Goshawk is your G.I. Joe. There's Chitin, kind of a mega corporation who's actually good. There's Steed, a mercenary organization that mostly works for the church. And there's Wasp, who's a legitimate movement but tends to be a little violent, but that's part of who they are. On the side of the bad guys, on the side of the Void, again, I already discussed them in a previous video. There's Huck, the god of fire, Zorl, the god of water, Quish, the goddess of air, who's supposed to be this uppity entity who likes to pretend that she's something, that she's some kind of benign goddess, but is anything but. Then you've got Yug, who's this disgusting entity, a female entity that seeks to make everybody miserable with her. She's like a more evil version of Warhammer's Nurgle. And then there's Vlur, the void god of shadow, who's about a person's obsession with the past and how much they're, attached to the past and all that. So, okay. Now, so the story of Naval War, or the Void Sea, is the navies of the heroes are trying to stop the ships of the enemy, of the Void, from reaching other land masses and spreading their evil into it. So they spread via their vile barges. These are massive, I wouldn't call them ships, they're more like just gigantic watercraft. They're like cathedrals, or evil cathedrals on the water. They're made to float, and your job, if you're playing as the good guys, is to sink them before they reach a certain threshold where they can spread their evil to a nearby landmass. So normally you'd have more ships on the actual field, but right now uh, we just have a few. So right now we just have the main Vile barge and our goody goody submarine. So okay, now we'll start. We'll start with my ship, with our Boa submarine. So first, let's move it. Since submarines are far ranging, they can move about 8 kilometers ahead. So there's one, two. That's two already, remember? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So we've moved to that place already. We can erase this. Now we're gonna pop open a torpedo tube, and launch it at this bile barge. Let's see their distances from one another. Still pretty far, but that's okay. Let's see how far our sensors go. As a submarine, a submarine should have decent range, so let's see here. So we don't get too close. Wouldn't want to get targeted by one of its depth charges. So I will move one more. Actually, I've got like I can move another 8 spaces. So I'll just take that so that I can move one more square here. Now, because I'm underwater, since I'm using a submarine, the Vile Barge is completely unaware. I mean, not completely unaware. It can start throwing out depth charges at me within, say, this threshold. If I get within this, the Vile Barge will be able to throw depth charges at me. But since I'm way underwater, and I'm outside that threshold, it can't target me. So it'll have to, so I will put my submarine on watch so that it won't be able to target me. And I'm not gonna surface it either. I'm gonna put a number here to show that it is in fact submerged. I will put U to signify that it is still underwater. Remember, this is prone to change. I might even put aircraft on some submarines. Remember, I said that correctly. There will be submarines here that will carry aircraft. So, in the meantime, I'm still underwater. So it can't detect me. But I will put it. So, what next thing the Vile Barge is going to do is it's going to try to do a sonar scan. It will try to detect. So it has a sensor of 75%. So it will try to detect me. Detect my area, though it still can't attack me. So for the Google dice, here we go. 75%. It has to roll either equal to or below 75%. 62.7. So while it can't use its main weapons on me, it can, however, use depth charges on me. So it'll try to move closer. But because Vile barges tend to be very, very slow, it can only move one square at a time. 1 kilometer pretty much. There. I'm within its threshold, so it can shoot depth charges at me. But I was on watch, so I automatically get to fire torpedoes at it. Now, let's look at the stats on my submarine. I have an attack of 60%, so I have to roll a number equal to or below 60%. Hold on, let's see what we get. 75.5. Wow, that dice really hates me today. So the sub rolls 75.5. That's a miss. A failure. So I don't hit anything. Now it will be my turn. Since I want to get away from the threshold of the vile barge, let's see how far this is. So basically, the threshold of its depth charge is all the way to here. So if I move here, I'll be safe. So it can't depth charge me. And the best part is I can also fire a torpedo at him, since he's not that far off range of my torpedoes. So okay, I'm gonna roll again to shoot him with a torpedo. 54.3, and my attack is 65. Oh wait, did I see that correctly? And my attack is 60, so 54.3 is a success. So the vile barge will try to dodge that, but with an evasion of 35%, it's almost impossible that he can roll below that. So it'll hit automatically, but he can use his durability to lessen the damage that's done to his ship. So, but however, since my torpedoes deal 60% or 60 damage, so 75 minus 60 is just 15, so he has to roll a number equal to or less than 15 in order to succeed at just, walking off the torpedo damage. Wow. Okay, so the 10 is automatically considered 0, so it's 40.6. So the vile barge with 15, wait, 14, 15 versus, how much was that? 40.6. And then if, again, we're gonna use a calculator here, so so 40.6 minus 15 is 25, and if you divide that by 10, you get 2.56. And your vile barge has about a physical integrity of 80%. That's still quite a lot, but now since, hold on, since from what you can see here, how much was that? 40.6 minus 15, that's 25. So his physical integrity of 80 will be deducted by 25.6. And 80 minus 25.6 is equal to 80 minus 25.6 is just 54. So his physical integrity is now just 54.4. So again, he can try to reacquire me, but I think I've used up a lot of time, so yeah, at least I got to introduce to you how the game works. So anyway, thank you for watching. Special shout out to Mr. Jonathan Green, my longtime supporter. Uh, yeah, thank you for watching this video. And if you want to see more of this, you can always subscribe to my channel. Thank you.